Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. Alan Finn checking back in with you for this week's episode of our gardening show here on Radio Kerry. And of course, remember, we are also on Facebook at the moment. I'm here outside Boyles of Killorglin. I'm about to head inside and meet Trish and Ger. Good afternoon, Trish. How are we doing? We're back at the potting shed again. How are things?
Very good, thank you.
Great stuff, great stuff. Well, we got some more tips for the listeners and our viewers, of course, on Facebook. So what are we looking at this week?
This week I'm talking about top dressing pots. A lot of people now plant shrubs or trees in pots and might have planted them a good few years ago, and they're kind of looking a little bit sad looking now, or need a bit of a feed, and they're wondering, do you know, it's so compacted in around the base of the pot. What can I do to give it that bit of extra nutrient? So basically every year around this time of the year you should top dress your pots.
Top dressing, it sounds so
fancy.
fancy.
I know,
it sounds so fancy.
We're fancy here in the gardening as well, Alan.
Great stuff, yeah.
So what I mean by that is you have your pot, you might have your boxes in it, or you might have your standard with a nice round head on top, or your camellias or whatever. So basically you're taking about 1 inch to 2 inches of soil off the top of the pot.
So you're literally going to get your
trowel and you're going to get
it
it. Now people say, oh God, what about the roots or whatever? But don't worry about it, there's plenty of roots down around.
Okay.
So don't go, like the stem of the plant is like that. Don't go in too close to the stem of the plant.
Okay,
just
so
come
maybe
out
like
about,
an inch
say,
or so.
1 inch or 2 inches from it, and scrape off with a trowel or with a fork, a small little hand fork, and take off the top part of the soil.
Okay.
Now, whilst that soil is off, you're better off then to get a stick or an iron bar and try and put a hole into the soil, right down into the pot. So say for example in this one, you're going right down.
So for all intents and purposes, you're aerating it.
Well, what I'm going to do is put a slow release fertilizer in that.
Oh, okay, so you're making a little funnel.
Because basically if it's very, very compact, you won't be able to get your finger and put it down. So that's why you kind of need a stick or an iron bar or something that will make a hole down through it. So for a pot maybe that's about maybe 18 inches in diameter, you'll be putting about 3 to 4 holes around it, right? These then they're slow release fertilizer. Now what that means is that it releases the fertilizer slowly throughout the next 5 to 6 months.
It does what it says on the tin, really.
It does what it says on the tin, is right. Now you needn't worry, say for example with that, people will be going, oh, how much of that do I put in?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
It's one little...
Just one little
thing. You see there, it's like a little pyramid of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. So they're all a little cluster of
them.
They're
little clusters and they're all together. So you put one cluster per hole.
Okay.
Right? So you've done that then, and that'll feed the roots lower down. So you need to top dress your pot. So you could top dress it with this, which is the multi-purpose John Innes compost.
Okay.
Now you want to be careful when you are top dressing pots. If you've got a camellia, a rhododendron, azalea, anything that needs an acid or an ericaceous soil, you must top dress it with this.
Yeah.
So very important to ask when you're top dressing, tell us what sort of a plant you have and we'll give you the right compost.
And it's very easy that, as you said, somebody may have planted this a year or two ago and remembers what it was back then, and you might have forgotten, because you know what happens to us all.
Yeah, but even like that, take a picture of the plant in the pot and we'd be able to identify it and give you the right compost for it then. Why you top dress is that you planted your shrub 2-3 years ago, all the nutrient has gone out of it.
The soil,
you obviously done the right thing at the start. You put in the drainage, you put in the slow release fertilizer, you put in the good compost, the topsoil, but that only lasts for say 3-4 months. After that then the nutrient has gone out of it. So you need to feed potted plants then throughout the summer as well.
So it's not like obviously certain shrubs and stuff where they'd get all their kind of stuff from the sun or anything like that.
Exactly, from the soil. Like if you had plants in the ground in a shrub bed, they get their nutrients from the soil. You might throw a fistful of fertilizer around it every year. That does them. But pots are different. So with the pots then as well, you need to keep them moist throughout the summertime. So you'll be watering them. Even throughout the winter, we've always said it, or early spring or whatever, even if it's raining, sometimes pots are underneath the eave of the house. So make sure to keep an eye on the watering of it. Now, around the end of March is the best time to start feeding plants. So again, we have the sequestered iron, which would be ideal for your ericaceous plants, and that'll actually green up the leaf for you then as well.
Seaweed
based, but it's the iron is the most important part there.
Yeah. And that works best with ericaceous
best with ericaceous, and we do have a seaweed based one without the iron in it for all the other plants then as well.
Okay, so again, like ourselves, if we get too much iron, it's not great.
No. So again, like there's a lot of different makes and brands of it, so make sure to read the back of the container and get the right dilution.
Measurements, dilutions,
so and like important. Don't be thinking, oh, my plant is very yellow, I'll give it an extra dose.
Oh no.
Don't do that.
We've all done it. I've done it.
You have, you kill it with kindness.
Yeah.
And also as well, before you feed, never feed on a dry pot.
Okay.
So always water your plant first, go away for about an hour and come back then and feed it.
Okay.
So because if you would feed it directly afterwards watering, there might have too much water gone in and the feed might just flow out at the bottom.
Oh.
So that's kind of what you do with your top dressing anyway.
Okay, right, so that is the top dressing, right. And we've got a little, it looks like a little sad flower here.
It does, but that was absolutely beautiful. These are bulbs, and this was a crocus bulb.
Oh.
Now the crocuses have finished flowering now.
Okay.
So say for example then that you had crocuses in the ground, right, and big clumps like that, and it didn't flower that well this year, and you're wondering, God, why not? But sometimes if clumps get very congested, it means underneath all this there's little bulbs. And the bulbs are kind of one on top of the other, and there's no room for them growing.
They're fighting for everything. Fighting for space and fighting for nutrients,
So what you need to do is divide them, and now is a good time to divide them, especially snowdrops this time of the year. If you've got a big bank of snowdrops and you want to put them somewhere else, now is a fantastic time to divide them. So just get your fork down into it very gently now. Try keep around it, because if you go into the middle of it, you might spike
a couple of bulbs,
and just lift them up, pull them apart and plant them.
So obviously once you have them out of the ground, you can separate them easier.
You can,
know what I mean?
You
it
can,
just
it's
gives
right.
You an option.
And then even if it is raining, I'd still recommend just to water them in after planting.
Okay.
There's no big need to be putting down loads of fertiliser or anything with them. Just plant them as they are.
Okay.
Now I suppose over the next couple of weeks, daffodils and all them will be finishing flowering. So you're better off leave them die away down naturally themselves. A lot of people think, oh sure, I want to tidy up the place now and the lawn looks unruly or whatever, I'll cut them. But if you cut them, you'll actually reduce the flower for next year, or even you might have no flower for next year.
Them all together,
And it's also a good thing to do is to feed them as well. So what you're actually doing is you're feeding the bulb for next year. So when they're finished flowering, tomato food is excellent. Again, go by the dilution rate on the bottle and feed them, and that'll build up the bulb then for next year.
Brilliant. Okay, super. So that is it from the potting shed for Trish's
for
tips.
This week.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Trish.
Thank you.
We'll have to head on over to Ger for some more. And Ger, you're welcome again to the garden show this week. How are you keeping?
Good.
Good stuff.
How are you going?
Stuff. Not too bad at all. Okay, so we're going to start with you with some herbs this week, Ger, is it?
Yeah, so again, it's we talked about the veggies last week. It's time to be getting on with the herbs as well for later on in the year. So we've got a good few different varieties in at the moment. This one here is called a lemon balm. Lovely citrus smell if you want to put your nose into it.
Give the nose sniff of that.
Even if you rub it through your hands, you can really get the citrusy smell.
Yeah,
that can be used in teas and salads.
I was going to say, how would someone kind of use that in a regular?
Yeah, so you
tea?
can go into salads, teas. It can go into fruit drinks.
So it's
like
edible,
that.
Not just scented.
Yeah, no, it's
brilliant.
Edible.
Okay.
So we've chives, we've rosemary. Again, these are all very, very easy grow. There's not too much that goes into
maintenance.
Them. Very little maintenance. As long as you have a well-drained soil, that they're not in wet soil.
Yeah.
They'll manage away in any environment.
And does the chive actually flower?
You get a pink flower out of the chive when it goes to seed. Yeah.
Lovely.
So the trick is trying not to leave it go to.
Don't let it go to seed.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, that can be chopped into salads and different things again.
Beautiful.
And the rosemary again, you can use that with your
big
with
fan
your
of
gravies
rosemary.
or your
lovely
lamb.
on the lamb. Spring
lovely
lamb.
on the lamb. We've also got the bay leaves. Bay leaves are really nice. Good for the herb garden. You can use them as a structure plant outside your front door as well.
Yeah.
So if you crush up the leaf and give it a little bit of a smell, it's a nice vibrant smell of it.
And
again, that can go into your stews and different things like that.
Yeah. I love this one, Ger. The olives.
So
the olives are. I love olives. It just brings me.
They're not a traditional plant to Kerry.
No, definitely wouldn't be. I'd be more thinking Greece and Spain and Italy.
Exactly, they definitely are a Mediterranean plant, but they can grow here. They'd be nice inside little courtyards, or let's say if you had a little an outdoor area with a bit of shelter, a courtyard, anything like that, you can plant them in. They won't fruit here. But you just get the nice foliage.
Okay.
And like just behind me here, we got them in the standards as well. That are nice for any corner that you want to hide. They give you a bit of structure and a bit of height, and you can underplant them as well with some nice bedding, or you could put some herbs in around them. We also have the smaller ones there, the one that Trish has in her hand, and again they're just a nice structural plant to put into a corner.
So we won't be making olive oil or anything?
No, unfortunately not, but they are a nice little pretty
now
plant.
I do like the Hebes.
Yeah,
I like the Hebes.
Alan, is called rhubarb and custard.
We had this last year, and I'm delighted now that you'll actually be able to see this on our Facebook page.
We sold so many of them last year, we just couldn't keep them in stock.
They are fantastic.
Again, we have many different Hebes there. We have strawberry and cream, we have Joan Mac.
Sounds like you could eat half them. Rhubarb and custard, strawberries and cream.
No, but looking at the lovely pink foliage that's coming through and that, they are quite nice. They grow up to about 2.5 foot. You can keep them contained as well, you can keep them cut back. Again, they're good for pot plants, just for a bit of colour, or you can put them into the garden as well. They're good hardy plant. If you're in a coastal area as well, they're ideal for a coastal area.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to some of the bigger structures and trees and stuff, Gerard, but you did also want to mention about planning your garden and kind of marking it out a little bit.
Yeah, so like this is, any place that I go to in my own garden, I always mark it out first, the area I'm doing. It's just handy, like a little bit of spray paint you get in most DIY stores. Yeah. Especially like if you don't know visually what the bed is going to look like or how big you want it, just literally get the spray paint and just mark it out. Yeah. Again, if you're putting in the likes of the trees, you want it 4 meters apart. So literally just go mark an X in your first one. Yeah. You can go measure your 4 meters and mark an X. Yeah. And if you need 10 or 12 trees, at least you know where all the markings are. Or if you have a round bed, or you want to take out a little corner of the garden to just reduce your grass cutting, it's ideal just to get your curve right.
Mark it all out. A handy little tool.
Yeah, even if you're doing your shrub bed, again, it's just a quick X just to count up how many
mark out spots, mark out areas. Okay. Now, Trish, you're in amongst the trees and the shrubs over
indeed,
there.
Yes.
What have you got for us?
Trees now that will be flowering soon. It's always nice, as we say, to plan your garden, as Gerard was saying, that you have flowers different seasons. So these are magnolias, and they are absolutely fabulous. Now, the one here beside me is called Susan, and we also have Solangiana. Now, they're like a tulip-shaped flower, and they grow up like that, and they're absolutely fabulous. You'll see the buds, that's the bud, and that's just about to open into a flower, like a nice little furry bud. Again, they do like the peaty soil, no lime in the soil, so when you're planting them, add in ericaceous compost with it. This particular one now grows to about 6-7 feet high, and the same in width. Solangiana can grow higher, that can grow anything 10-12 feet. So it's like a large shrub, a small tree in the garden, and they're absolutely fabulous. We also have another one, I don't have it here in front of us at the moment, it's called Stellata, and it's got a white star-shaped flower, and that is fantastic.
Wow.
And it grows to about maybe 5 feet high by about 5 feet wide.
Okay.
And again, the flowers on the Stellata comes on the bare stem, so you wouldn't actually have much leaf, and then you just have all the flowers
massive
on
flower,
it, and then after the flowers.
So, Ger, as well too, with the 5 foot and everything like that, it is important to give them all a bit of space. So that's where it is important to plan.
No, so like a lot of people make this mistake, and they come in and they're like, right, we've a 4x4 bed, 4 foot by 4 foot bed, and they get 30 plants for it. It doesn't work. So it is important to come in, get the advice off us. We can work out, if you come in with the measurements, we can work out all the spacing for you. Like with a lupin there, and with, let's say, the wallflower there, you don't want them that close.
Okay.
You want them at least 2.5 foot apart, because they
give them
are
the space.
To grow. Like the lupin there will grow to 2-3 foot high, and it's going to have a 2.5 to 3 foot spread. So again, spacing is key. There's no point in having things too cluttered.
I suppose a lot of people look at that, as Gerard was saying, like, and they think, there's too much space in between that.
Yeah,
they will grow, and as Gerard says, that lupin will grow that height and width this year.
And with the season,
with this season. So don't
that quickly.
Yes, that quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the wallflower, again, that'll grow within the season. There is some slow growing shrub that'll take a little bit longer. But again, it's vital to get your spacing right.
And how do you find that out? You ask the question. Now, you actually picked up the wallflower there, and I've got another one here. They are our plant of the week, Ger.
Plant of the week, yeah. Again, the wallflower, they just keep giving and giving and giving. This wallflower, if you planted one, let's say this time last year, I guarantee more than likely it's still in flower now. They just keep going.
Really, that long?
Yeah, they're just brilliant.
Fantastic.
See, we don't get the same frost that we used to get, so they do prolong the
and that's what used to obviously restrict them and cut them back. And
well, the wallflower is a little bit different. Then you can't really go too hard on the cutting back.
Okay.
So if you want something that's going to flower all year round, the wallflower is brilliant, but you'll only get about 2 years out of it.
Okay.
The reason being is that they will get a little bit woody. They get a bit woody, and again, it just affects their flowering. So if you have a nice garden bed that you want flower for 2-3 years, they're ideal. The one thing with them is, like, this is a beautiful colour
and how are they easy to maintain? You say you get all that flowering. Do you need to do much to them?
Again, like we keep repeating it every week. Again, they do like a well drained side.
Okay.
It is vital for them. Feeding does help, and we say it every week.
Deadheading.
With these, deadheading is vital. So you can see here, there's
the new ones coming through.
That's going to be in flower in a couple of weeks. This is going to be spent. If you don't cut this back, then you're going to have 40-50 spent flowers in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. So it is vital to deadhead.
But the main thing is that it will keep regenerating.
It will keep regenerating. It'll keep rewarding you throughout the year.
Fantastic.
So one little thing with them as well is you'll always get a few little flowers on them when they are spent. So even if there is 1 or 2 flowers on it, cut it right back. And cut it right back into the plant
into the majority of the plants. Brilliant. Okay. Well, that's super. Well, there are plants of the week, Ger, and thanks very much for the tips, Trish. We've had another great show here in Boyles of Killorglin. Do remember, you can find us on Facebook. You can like and comment, and any questions you might have, we will get to at some point during the show. So, for myself, Alan, everyone here in Boyles of Killorglin, Trish and Ger, thanks very much, guys. We'll talk to you again.
Alan. Bye.
Bye-bye.